Yay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming to the September OPA monthly meeting. Hope a lot of you were on the street this past weekend and enjoyed Day of the Dog and everything else on the street. As usual, we're going to kick off the meeting with Santa Monica Police Department giving an update on all things pertinent to them. Officer Navarro, can you hear me? Cool. You're muted, but the floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I was trying to get our link sent to our new neighborhood resource officer who's having some trouble logging in. I told him to use the newsletter link, but I think that's not working for him. So I was trying to figure out how to get that to work for him. Hopefully,
do you want me to, Halima, do you want me to put it in the chat or text it to you?
Can you put it in the chat? Yes, and then I can just email him from here. Okay. So I will get started and then hopefully we can get him on here in a bit. So he's actually going to be assigned to beat 1, which is going to be the downtown area, Main Street, all of that. So it's definitely pertinent to the OPA, the group. So we want him to just have a moment to be able to introduce himself to all of you. Just give me 1 second so I can email him right now. I don't want to take up too much time here. Okay. Okay, so I sent that over. All right, so let's get started here. Let's see. So we saw in this last 30 days, I didn't look at the comparison for the month prior, but it did strike me as a bit higher. We had 11 motor vehicle thefts. So these are thefts of the entire vehicles, so GTA, not just a regular break-in. As far as break-ins, there were 8. But 11 incidents happened where the entire vehicle was taken. I didn't see any particular pattern to it, and it seemed sort of scattered throughout the area. But it's something that we are going to keep an eye on. And then I did see there were 10 larceny that were in the other category. And upon doing a little bit more digging on it, it was almost entirely all bike thefts. These included bikes that were inside garages, underground garages, and also bikes that were in balconies and that were taken. And then the other part was the pocket picking. So in the last month, I had mentioned that we had been seeing this for a while now. We had seen a couple incidents of these. So in the last 30 days, we saw 23 incidents of pocket picking. But I do have a little bit better news on that end. We have, I mentioned our special units, special problems unit that just got started. They actually had an operation at the Victorian about 3 weeks ago. And within about maybe a week of that, there was an arrest that happened. And there were 2 individuals who actually have been arrested, the ones that were arrested maybe 6-7 months ago for the same thing. So those 2 individuals were arrested. And then just 2 days ago, we had another arrest of 2 different individuals. And in these incidents, people noticed that their items were missing right away. And since it tends to be phones, they immediately went on to find my iPhone and were able to track the person and locate them. So I think another big part of it is also the awareness of just knowing to be careful with your items and then being very aware when it's taken immediately. So with these 4 arrests, I'm hoping that we're going to see a little bit of a decrease in the next month, in the next couple of months. And given that these individuals, they were all from the same country, I don't know if they were necessarily known to each other, but it seems like they may be operating, at least if not together, kind of with the same MO. So again, any information, we do welcome it. That does continue to be an investigation that's open, and the Special Problems Unit is still working with some of the bars on Main Street and some of the other bars in the city that have experienced some of these issues. But just so you're aware, that's kind of where we're at with that. I did make a flyer with just some situational awareness information. We're still kind of working with some of the bars to figure out, whether they're open to putting them up. But I would like to just kind of hand them out in the area during the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights, especially because that's when we're seeing that these particular thefts are occurring. And then as far as auto part thefts, we saw 2 of them. So we have seen a decrease in catalytic converter thefts. So we hope that we continue going in this kind of downward trend here. And that's about it for the main things I wanted to mention. As I mentioned earlier, we have now 3 neighborhood resource officers working out of community affairs. So, we're still not at full capacity, but it is definitely helping take some of the load off. We're still, trying to make sure that we're as available as can be. And Officer David Wang is the one that's been assigned to our unit, and he actually worked the downtown services unit. So he's very familiar with downtown. He attended a couple of different meetings that were related to downtown issues, and he's been on the force for 15 years. So we're really happy to have him as an addition to our group. And anything Beat 1 related, I think he'll be a really great asset. So anything that we can't answer, he'll be able to assist with. And of course, he'll be able to supplement anything that you guys need. And I don't know if he's gonna be able to log in. I think he's still having some technical issues on his end, but hopefully he'll be able to jump on, or we can meet him in person. We don't currently have any upcoming events, but I do try to keep Sean as updated as possible when we are planning events. So hopefully we can, get something together soon. We will be at some of the Virginia Avenue Park events that are coming up, if you want to find us there as well. But I'm hoping that maybe in October we'll start doing a little bit more of the Coffee with a Cop and different events in the city. But if you have any ideas or any particular locations that you really like and kind of want to see us there, always shoot me an email, and we can make that connection. But with that being said, I will open it up for questions.
Before you do that, I just want to pause for 2 things. One, I want everyone to look at the sky for a second over there. It's incredible. Like, wherever you're no, that way. Trust me, just pause me. There's a big rainbow and a crazy pink glow in our sky right now. So.
Oh, and that's a rainbow.
Yeah. So. I heard that for the meeting. I had to pull some major strings.
Is Judy gonna send the picture out?
I have no doubt. Thank you, everyone. Sorry, Officer Navarro. I assume Lima was going to hand the floor over to you.
Yeah, the only thing I had was I just wanted to add a little bit as far as Officer Wang. I think he's going to be a fantastic choice for this area. Definitely has an enforcement background. And then he was doing a lot of the downtown Santa Monica meetings as the senior downtown officer. So I think he's going to be fantastic for OPA and for the downtown area. I want, excuse me. I want to thank Sean and whoever met us at Handles for ice cream last week. I'm going to say it's one of our more enjoyable events. It was ice cream with a cop, and they've got fantastic ice cream. So they were nice enough to give us a lot of ice cream for the community, so it worked out really well. And that's about it. I'm glad you guys have Jim Harris there to talk tonight. He's probably one of the few people who knows more about Santa Monica Pier than I do. So he should be a treat. But yeah.
And Officer Wang is on now.
Oh, perfect.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, sounds good. I apologize for being late. I had some connectivity issues. Just want to introduce myself. My name is Officer Wang. I've been with Santa Monica since 2014, and prior to that, I was with Inglewood PD for 5.5 years. So I have about 15 years of experience. I was assigned to the downtown Santa Monica area for about 6 years. So transitioning from downtown Santa Monica from the patrol operations to the neighborhood resource officer is definitely a transition, but I'm very excited, very excited to working with you guys and being your neighborhood resource officer. And I'll be joining with you guys with all the upcoming meetings. And if you guys ever need anything, I'm always available. Feel free to reach out to me. I look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for making time tonight, and thanks for your service. Welcome to the neighborhood. We have a couple hands raised. We have time for a couple questions. Jared, you've had your hand up for a while.
Well, first of all, it was great. The ice cream was a cop there or Boulevard. Thank you. I want to mention, maybe we could have a brief moment of silence. Today is the anniversary of that horrible 911 tragedy. And I went over early in the morning to the fire department there, and they were called off to duty right just before they were going to have their ceremony to help put out a fire. But it just shows how much respect we should be giving to the police and the firefighters. They keep us safe. And this is a good sign to see the sky like this on this anniversary. That was a terrible day, but it shows things can get better.
I couldn't tell I was downtown and
We'll was planning on a moment of silence as we finish with the police force. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes.
Well, traffic enforcement. These motorcycles are increasingly coming into using the roads here, many of them, and they're doing wheelies down Nielsen Way, down Barnard Way. And I know you're aware of it, but I hope you guys can you ladies and gentlemen, do some enforcement on that, because it's very scary. I saw about 50, 60 of them coming down Nielsen Way, and they were all doing little tricks, a lot of wheelies. It's dangerous for everybody, them included.
Just a comment on that. Just know that there is our motorcycle police officers. They tend to do every month several weekends of traffic enforcement. They're required as part of their traffic grant to go out there and do enforcement. Just a week, 2 weeks ago, the enforcement they were doing was pedestrian enforcement, which is pretty important. But the motorcycle enforcement is also on their list. We get that complaint frequently. One of the challenges that we have is, it's a momentary thing, and then it's hard to contact the motorcycles afterwards. When those things do happen, we try to get as many officers as we can, especially when they do the flash mob, large set of motorcyclists or mini bikes and all that. But yeah, we are out there doing enforcement on a weekly basis, and I'll drop another email to our motorcycle officers just to let them know that it's still a concern. Anything else, Officer Wang?
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that. Yes, that is a concern. We are aware of it. Our traffic enforcement is also aware of it. And as Officer Navarro said, we do monthly operations targeting certain things where it's bicyclists or motorcyclists or scooters. Each month has a different theme. I will say that a lot of these violations are infractions. Therefore, we are limited to how far we can pursue them. However, with our traffic enforcement, we will be putting a operation that will be effective and safe, and we will put an end to this. We will definitely try our best to put an end to this. So thank you for bringing up that concern. That will be addressed.
And before we go to the last question, I'm just going to echo something we've talked about at past meetings. If there's something you feel is breaking the law, please call it in. Even if they can't do anything about it, Officer Navarro and Lima and the chief, when he was here, all echoed this, that the more reports they get, allows them to drop pins and potentially plan future operations or know where to keep a closer eye on things. So please report things when you see them, even if you think nothing can be done.
That's correct. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't want to be redundant about the motorcyclists, but they're really taking over the road. Ever since that law was passed where they can pass between lanes and ride between lanes, they're all passing on the right. They're in the bicycle lanes, and I'm out there every day, and it's really not good.
Okay. What is there a particular intersection that is the most violated intersection or block? Just so I can tell our
No.
motor officers to enforce that area or focus on that area.
It's everywhere in the city of Santa Monica and Lucerne.
Okay. I will pass
I
that
would
along
say
to our motor officers. Once again, as Officer Navarro said, it is quite challenging. If it's very random and very quick, we can't always be at every single block or every single intersection. However, when we do see those things, we will address those things. Absolutely.
I'd like to say,
I'm sorry, but we've run long. We need to.
Thank you.
Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the comments. While you are still on the line, Santa Monica Police Department, I want to just say on behalf of everyone, thank you for putting your lives at risk every day, especially on a day like today, where we need to be very conscious and remember of how dangerous your jobs can be and what you're doing for us. So let's everyone please just take a moment of silence to remember today and everyone that's given their lives for us. Thank you for making time for us, Halima and everyone else. Have a great night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Tough to
And we thank you for your
transition.
support.
Good night.
So want to transition from there to introduce Jim Harris, who is the Executive Director of the Santa Monica Pier, who's here to give us a presentation and speak to all things Pier on the week of the 114th anniversary of the Pier. So I will hand the floor over to you and I'll pull up the presentation.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you all for having me. My name is Jim Harris. I'm the Executive Director of the Santa Monica Pier Corporation. I've been working on the pier since 1989 when I took a job as a bartender at the old Boathouse restaurant. Does anybody remember the old Boathouse restaurant? So I've come a long way, baby, right? Here, as we go,
You have to show.
go to slideshow. Slideshow. Play from start. There we go. There we go. And we'll go to the next slide already. Okay. So as Sean mentioned, the pier just had a birthday, turned 114 years old on Saturday. That was September 9th. And it opened in 1909. So if you write that numerically, it's 9909. I'm telling everybody this, it works very well with school kids. And I trust if I ask you again a little bit later, what's that date? You're going to say, okay, next year in September 1st, when you're thinking about September 9th, what are you going to think? 9909, it's the pier, right? It's Pier Day. So happy birthday, Santa Monica Pier. I won't make you sing happy birthday. Unless you really want to. But that's about, you know, a lot of people know of me as the pier historian because I did write the history book, Santa Monica Pier, A Century on the Last Great Pleasure Pier. I give a lot of history presentations. I wrote a play called Sept the Pier, which commemorates and reenact the actions of when the pier was saved by the community. The city was going to tear it down. I'm not going to tell you a lot of history today because I don't have a lot of time. Right? We have other things to talk about, like what's going on at the pier. So next slide, please. You can learn more about the pier history now through a new historical walking tour that we have just launched at the pier about a month ago. And we used to have historical walking tours that were done by volunteers and they were for free. And that was great, except that you never really knew who was going to show up on either end. And quite often we had people not show up. And so we tried to reimagine our tours into being something special. And they are something very special now. They were always special to begin with, but now we have an exclusive experience through noise canceling headphones. You get images sent to your iPhone or whatever kind of phone that you have. And if you don't have a phone, we give you printed images. So you have a keepsake to take home. And we take you on this tour, beginning up at the top of the bridge at the pier sign. So you can have your pictures taken underneath. You can listen to a great introduction by Robert Redford. Yes, be Robert Redford. And have this wonderful experience with the noise canceling, so you're not disturbed by the other people around you. We charge $25 for that. They are offered on Saturdays and Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you do need to reserve space. I have flyers right over here if you're interested. And you can also find out more information and sign up through our website, santamonicapier.org. Next slide, please. Locals Night. Has everybody here been to Locals Night? Has anybody here been to Locals Night? Oh, good. A lot of hands, but not all. So if you didn't know about Locals Nights, we launched them about 1.5 years ago. And we produce them on the third Thursday of every month from September through May. And what's the concept? Well, for us, it's giving the pier back to the local community. You know, as popular as the pier has become over the years, I know a lot of people have felt kind of pushed out. Like it's become just a tourist attraction and it's not for the locals anymore. And that's wrong. I mean, you're paying taxes on the pier. You own the pier, right? So we want to make sure that the locals get to come and enjoy it. And so on the third Thursday of every month, we have a by Santa Monicans for Santa Monicans theme. And by that, we mean that all of our entertainment and activities are within individuals or organizations that are from Santa Monica. And that means everything from last year we had John Adams Middle School. The kids sing grief songs. We had a Caton Children's Museum. We had a teenage band, high school bands, where at least one member was a resident of Santa Monica. So by Santa Monicans for Santa Monicans. We only market to Santa Monicans. Everybody's welcome. And if you're like me as a tourist, you want to find out what the locals are doing. So of course, we're going to welcome everybody and make sure that they get to live Santa Monica as we like to live Santa Monica. So there's some photos on the next. Within that, we have car shows. We have the children's activities in the merry-go-round building. We have photo ops, we have live music. We have salsa lessons out at the end of the pier. Those have been really successful lately. And sometimes we even put on the Save the Pier play that I mentioned before. And you may have seen an announcement. We were going to do it in September, but we aren't able to put it together this time. So it will be next spring, probably April or May. Yes.
So what's the plan for the parking lot?
The parking lot.
You're the north side of the pier. Looks like we could have a lot of fun on that parking lot.
Yeah, you know, that's where we have most of our activities. On the north side of the pier? The beach parking lot? The beach lot, that's unfortunately, that's not my territory.
Understood.
Yeah,
Never mind.
they don't let me program that. Next slide, please. Wellness and Waves. We have a yoga program out at the end of the pier coming up in October. We'll run for 6 weeks. October and November dates are still got to be determined. We're still booking with the yoga instructors for that. But that's a free Saturday morning program, 9 a.m. out at the west end of the pier. It's the remnants of a program we used to have called Roga, which is Run plus Yoga equals Roga. But we're focusing just on the yoga right now, and we're going to start adding other kinds of fitness programs. So that's why it's not just called yoga at the end of the pier, it's called Wellness and Waves. Next slide, please. Dia de los Muertos. This has become probably one of my favorite events that we've ever done at the pier. It's certainly the most beautiful event that we've ever put together. We've 2 years ago, we started putting ofrendas, altars, inside the merry-go-round building, and they were the most extraordinary thing, and it was such a perfect fit for especially someone who likes pier history like me, a perfect way to honor those who came before us. And for me, it's those who enjoyed the pier before us, but of course it's much broader community. And we hired Sylvia Sanchez to keep it very traditional. She is a super traditional woman who really wants to make sure that we do this. We don't commercialize it. Last year, we had Aztec dancers leading a parade from the west end to the merry-go-round building. We had mariachis, we had ballet folklorico, everything that is very specific to the culture and to the theme of Dia de los Muertos. This year, our celebration will be on October 28th, and the ofrendas will be inside for public viewing inside the merry-go-round building through November 2nd. Next slide, please. Just to give you a little taste of what that looks like. This is some of the artwork, some of the amazing, it's just the most beautiful thing. And last year, Danny Alonso helped us with that. It was his idea for the skeleton and decorating the merry-go-round like we did. Yeah, just incredible. Yeah. Next slide. And other programs that we have coming up. I know I'm probably running short of time. So holiday cheer on the pier. We're going to try and do a sand sculpture this year. We're trying to put together funding for a sand sculpture. For those of you who have been in Santa Monica for quite some time, Santa Monica Place used to have sand sculptures inside for the holidays. We're going to try and do that at the pier. Can't guarantee we make it happen this year. If we don't make it happen this year, we will next year. But it is a goal of ours. We're working very hard on that right now. Samo Pride, in of course the month of June, Pride. We work with Santa Monica Place, downtown Santa Monica Travel and Tourism, and the city of Santa Monica. We all put together a Samo Pride Festival to save the pier play. I mentioned it before. I don't need to go into any more detail. Just if you see advertising for it, the pier is not in danger, but the play is very good. And the last weekend in June, our marquee event. If you haven't been to this one, you've really been missing out because it really celebrates beach culture and the pier's place within that. It is paddleboard racing, swim racing, beach volleyball. Doubles beach volleyball started just south of the pier on those ports by the lifeguard headquarters there. Paddleboard racing started at the pier literally in the 1930s. And we also have a skate ramp. You guys all know about Dogtown, what those Z-Boys did to impact the world of skateboarding right here in Santa Monica. So we really celebrate that beach culture on the pier in a very special way. We put up a pop-up museum so everybody knows that Santa Monica's place in history with all of this. Someday there will be a full-time museum, I know, because I'm going to make that happen.
Yes, you are.
And we also have Polynesian dance and live music, great food. We had a roller rink on the pier last year. 2 years ago, we had a pool where people could learn how to paddleboard on pacified water on the pier. It's an amazing spectacle. A 2-day festival the last weekend in June every year. So with that, have I made my time?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Do I have time for questions? Okay, good. I do. The bridge is
Maybe spend a couple minutes.
sure. The bridge is slated for demolition beginning in 2025 and then to be rebuilt mostly in kind. So it'll be the same bridge that we have, the same angle, no ADA ramp on this one. There was a lot of studies that went into that. No elevator. You may have heard about an elevator. It's going to be the same, basically the same ramp, a little bit wider. The walkway will be on the south side, so that when you walk down on the pier, you don't have to cross the street to go to the restaurants or the merry-go-round. And it should be finished. Well, it better be finished by the time the Olympics get here in 2028. Yeah. The target is spring 2020.
I'll be afraid to practice that.
Yeah.
2025 comes
They
down.
They begin working on it. They're still.
So it comes down and they put a new one in its place.
Yes.
Why is it being replaced?
Sorry.
Why is it being replaced?
It has been condemned since I think the 94, since the Northridge quake. It's been severely damaged since the 94 quake. And when the Minnesota bridge tragedy happened, the United States government did an assessment of bridges all around the country, and the pier bridge failed. And so it's needed to be replaced for some time. It's not structurally sound.
But thank you for being here, by the way. Great presentation. When it goes down, then what? It's going to be how will people get to the
So I have heard, and I'm not one of the engineers working on this, but I've heard that the plan is to only tear down half of it at a time.
Yeah, section.
As far as deliveries on pier, and for my sake events, which our organization depends on event rentals. There will be a ramp built on the north side of the pier into the 50 lot, one north for vehicular access, just for deliveries. Jerry?
Thank you for all the great stuff you've done for so many years. really always appreciate the great stuff on the first go and commemorate different days. Do that. I don't think too many people, enough people know that it's I think the only solar powered Ferris wheel in the country.
It is.
And that's so amazing.
First
and,
and still only.
and it's great.
Civic Park has been a great addition here. We can all agree.
So tell us what's happening with the aquarium.
Sure. Well, there's there are a lot of dreams. A lot of people, myself included, would love to see the aquarium come up on top of the pier. You all know that there's an aquarium under the pier, right? It's like Santa Monica's best kept secret that we have an aquarium.
The Space Force talked about it in Trent Beach.
So there was talk about that. I think that talk has faded, and now they're really focused more on where the pier maintenance building is and the little parking section by that. So it'd be next to the police substation, right in the middle of the pier. But there's a long way to go. Yeah, and I would love for it to be accelerated. I think really right now they have taken over the Starline Tourist space right in the middle, right across from the Bellingham Shrimp, and that's their gift shop area. And I think that was a brilliant that establishes them on the pier. Already their attendance, their ticket sales have gone up significantly. So that is good. But still, you're going to a place there to find out that you have to go underneath the pier. Hopefully we can get that moving very quickly. Yes.
Why is the, they give these water quality reports and they always, most often say, is because of pigeons roosting?
Well, the report, as I understand it, the study, the tests were done in the late spring after all the storms, and then the report came out as summer approached, and so the timing of the report was really unfortunate. But yes, there's speculation that it's the pigeons are responsible, so there's netting underneath the pier. There is a storm drain right underneath the pier that it's pumping water out there. Yeah, and it also when it reaches its capacity, the water shoots up underneath the pier and washes even more. It has a vents that the water shoots through, and that washes even more trash from the underneath the pier out into the ocean. We're probably never really going to have an A for a sustainable amount of time. It's not realistic for the pier because of that storm drain and just because of where the pier is. But we would love to see at least Bs for sustained time. Some A's. Just talk about like just the pier being the pier and having that storm drain underneath it and birds roosting. Probably never going to see A's for a long time, if at all. And that's unfortunate. It's just the situation that we are in. But we can certainly aspire to long periods of B's, B grades, hopefully some A's in there.
Thanks for making time for us tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Whatever you like, it's up to you.
Thank you all.
I believe so. Livable Communities Initiative is on tap next, but I'm not sure I see them on the Zoom. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, Lindsay is there. Okay, good. So while she unmutes herself, if you're not familiar with the initiative, the idea is either repurposing or building more mixed-use buildings with residential units above commercial in what are largely commercial districts to try and alleviate some of the housing burdens by integrating the businesses and housing more together. But I will let Lindsay speak to that much more eloquently than I will, so I'll hand the floor over to her.
Thank you. Sorry, I have a little bit spotty internet, so forgive me if things it doesn't come through. But do you mind if I share my screen?
Go for it.
Okay. All right, great. Give me 1 second to just make this line up a little bit. So thank you. My name is Lindsay Sturman, and I'm one of the founders of the Livable Communities Initiative. And it's really a vision for 15-minute communities in LA to address, and the surrounding cities, to address our housing, traffic, mobility, air quality, and climate emissions. And the basic idea is to take streets like this, Westwood Boulevard. Tons of our streets are downzoned, especially in LA, which is a little bit of a different situation than you guys. But one-story buildings are, across the city, and turn it into something like this. Add trees, slow the cars down, add bike lanes, al fresco dining, and pre-zone, make it really simple to build above neighborhoods serving retail. And we're a group of about 30 people on a good day. Sometimes it's 100 people who've just, over the past 2.5 years, sort of brought the best practices in urbanism and architecture and mobility. I'm a mobility person. I co-host a podcast called Bike Talk. You don't need to listen to it unless you love bikes. But I've really studied bike infrastructure. I work with Martin Tomas, you can see right here, who's a systems engineer. We've really just tried to understand mobility, because at core, the housing crisis in many ways is a mobility crisis, because as I'm sure you guys know, parking is really at the core of the problem of housing. It's an economics issue. It's so expensive. It creates so much complexity, lot assembly, a lot of pushback when you involve parking in the building of housing. But when you take away parking, you do all these magical things. You eliminate, if you can create a situation where people can live without a car, you're lowering traffic. If you do this around jobs, you're eliminating commutes. You're making it cost less to build. You can do more simpler buildings, and then the rents come way down. So it's a really exciting, rethinking parking is a really exciting way to rethink our housing and create 15-minute communities, which is an idea out of Paris. It was a Colombian French scientist who came up with this idea that a 15-minute city where everything you need is in walking distance or biking within 15 minutes, which is amount of time that we really love as humans to walk or exercise. It just, a lot of cities in Roman times, for instance, were built with a 15-minute radius. So where would this go in a place like LA? Our history is that our recent history was that we were a city of 400 villages connected by trolleys and a lot of bikes, by the way. And we still have these historic main streets. And one of the most incredible ones is several in Santa Monica. And you just imagine 3 to 5 stories of housing above small retail, again, neighborhood serving retail that's really beloved. And you start to imagine communities like this. And again, just to get back to the parking, because the parking's such a key part of this, which I, of course, didn't understand at all. And then when we sat down with these professors at UCLA, they kept saying the parking. And you start to realize that really you could build, say, take a little store and build, 6 units above it. It's the apartment above the shop, right? But where on earth, if, you do 6 little small 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, where would you put 8 cars, 12 cars, 14 cars? There's just no way to do it. And you end up ripping up the block, and you lose that fine grain retail, that small retail. So, but if you're going to get rid of parking, what do you do about mobility? And so that's where housing and mobility just becomes so integrated. And so we worked with LADOT, we worked with Metro, talked to a ton of experts. I interviewed them a lot for my podcast from the Netherlands about how they do their just incredible mobility. And we started to reimagine, and these are just ideas. We're not trying to push this on anyone. And we do really have a focus in high opportunity neighborhoods, because that's tied in with so many issues around equity and what's happening when middle income households move into low income communities and communities of color, and they displace longtime residents. And what ends up happening, they drive up rents. You have an overheated market, and you end up people lose their homes and then fall into homelessness very often through that sort of chain of events. So what if we built in high opportunity neighborhoods? And really, we see this as a program open to any neighborhood that wants it. But what these stars on the map are metro stops. And we actually have world-class transit infrastructure in our metro. We obviously have ridership and safety issues. But what if we imagine traditionally you would draw a circle around a transit stop and say, like, let's just up zone around the circle. And that really doesn't work in LA because so much of our city is single family homes, and there's really not a lot of support for that. Whereas there's really broad consensus around building our housing deficits along commercial corridors. Well, what if instead of a circle, we imagined a spoke, a linear TOD, a linear transit oriented development, and touching our high quality transit? And then we looked at one other issue is well, where's the traffic going to go if we reduce, say, car lanes, or we slow down the cars? And so what we looked at was streets where it just wouldn't be as relevant. Hollywood Boulevard is a dead end street. You can see it dead ends here and it dead ends here. Westwood Boulevard is 1.5 miles and it dead ends at both ends. Culver Boulevard. And of course, everything dead ends at the beach. So that gives you an opportunity where we're really smart as drivers, and this is bringing down traffic. So you really can create a perfect storm where you're bringing down the traffic, you're seeing mode shift, while you're also freeing up streets to create streets. Maybe not this, but how amazing if we could create streets where kids could bike. And biking to me is so magical, but it solves that first mile, last mile issue so that people can get to transit, because you might walk 15 minutes if it's a really beautiful street and there's shade, but you're not going to walk 30 minutes. But bikes really close that gap. And the thing that I learned along the way is and it's something that our stakeholders and our electeds just, really need to understand. These bike lanes are just not the same thing. Only 1% of people will use a bike lane that's unsafe. And, compassionately, I don't really want anyone, using a bike lane like this. But when you take the cars off, you really slow them down, you make them really cognizant of the bike riders, kids bike, and they don't need to use a helmet. And I would never pitch not using a helmet, especially in the US. But that's how you know it's truly safe, is when families bike, seniors bike, people with disabilities bike, and they don't need a helmet necessarily. And this is just another visualization of the safety issues. Is 1% of bike riders, you don't need to give them anything. Again, it's not, I find it very scary. 8% of bike riders, people will, they'll bike when they're pinch points where a car could hit them, because they feel fit, they feel brave, they feel like they can dodge that car. But when you really slow the cars down to 9 miles an hour, definitely under 18 miles an hour, you do great infrastructure like you're doing in Santa Monica, then you get 80 to 90% of people will bike when it's truly safe and networked. So I'll just give you an example of Beverly, just how we're thinking about reimagining one street. Just a case study that we did. You can see 1-story buildings, and rethinking the street. A lot of our streets are just totally wasted space. 12-foot drive lanes are very dangerous. People speed up because that's like the width of a freeway lane. We only need 9.5 feet, 9 feet, even 8.5 feet. People will quibble with that, but it's true. So what if you created streets like this, where there's a bus lane, there's one drive lane, you slow the traffic down. And again, you're protecting the fine grain retail. And you just reimagine streets like this, and they're wonderful streets that could work in all over the city, especially Santa Monica, because it's just such a magical place to live anyways. And a street like this, where you can walk everywhere, you can bike places, it touches high quality transit, and why wouldn't you just put housing there? And I'll stop there, and I'd love to answer any questions, but one last thought about this is that the community can really have a say in the vernacular and in the architecture through a program where you create standardized architectural plans that any property owner can, it's an off the shelf, 24-hour approval, eliminate the permitting process. But it's really beautiful architecture that's really supported by the community. So I'll stop there, and I'd love to answer any questions.
Thank you for sharing the vision. Any questions in the back? You've got us really project for the speaker to hear you.
Talk about traffic and cars, lack of parking for cars. Can garages be built underground?
The question was, can garages be built underground? Right?
Underground, yes.
Yes, I think that sorry, there's a little bit of feedback there. The when you're dealing with fine grain retail, depending on the width, you need 42 feet to turn a car around. So if you wanted to build lot by lot, a single parcel and not assemble lots, then, unless it's a 50-foot lot, which they exist, you definitely can do it. A lot of the cities also overparked, and I failed to mention that you can also have car shares. So it's really for people who work from home, they're retired, they work nearby. That's how we really envision it. So that it's for people who want to give up their car. And we did some research on the market, who's interested in this, and it was really astonishing that the 24% of people will pay more to live in a walkable neighborhood. Something like 90% of Gen Z will pay more. So it's the number one driver of real estate. It's property values go up. So there's all these wins involved and a huge untapped demand to live in walkable neighborhoods.
So I happen to know that in Ocean Park, we're part of the coastal zone. And the Coastal Commission is very protective of parking spaces. So when the housing gets built in the Main Street parking lots, those parking spaces will have to go underground. The Coastal Commission will pretty much demand that. So you'll still have access from whatever those points are.
Mm-hmm. And then you could also do a parking district, and obviously, the Coastal Commission is, really is protecting, the access, which is really important. They do parking districts in a lot of cities where you just build a municipal parking lot, and you make sure that everybody has access to, if you feel like the residents need it, which I'm not sure if that's what you're saying. Sorry, it broke up a teeny bit, but it's like New York City or Boston. You just have to walk 5 minutes to your car. So that's another solution to the parking.
I really like a lot of what you're saying about livable and walkable community. I think it's one of the reasons that I chose to live in Ocean Park. If you have so much time here, come on down. It's awesome. Anyway, just curious what's the goal for you guys as an organization? Like I said, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm just trying to understand where you're headed and what the motives are.
Yeah. I mean, for LA, we really believe in this. Partially, it's so it's broadly supported by, and we really don't like to name call, sort of people who historically resist housing. And, if you're pro housing, if you resist housing, what we found is that there's just broad support for gentle density, 3 to 5 stories, along commercial corridors that don't bring in more traffic and are focused in job centers. For instance, Westwood, 63,000 people drive in. It's a massive medical center, 1 million patients a year. You have 20% of university students are driving in. Well, what if a huge percent, everybody who wants to live there could live there and live a walkable life without a car? How transformational would that be? So we're working our way through LA. We're expecting a report that was unanimously approved in December. And we're hearing that there's a lot of support. So it's just a way to build in a way that the community supports. And it's very community-based. So a community would opt in. It's not something that, we see as ramming down people's throats, and a way to build in a way, like, for instance, Westwood has a vernacular. They have beautiful 100-year-old architecture, courtyard buildings. And what if we could encourage and simplify building in the style that already exists? And there are a few wonderful examples. Rather than, ripping down blocks and doing 10-story glass towers, which are just not in keeping with the history of the neighborhood. So, LA, there's a lot of support in Burbank. We're talking to people in Santa Monica, a lot of support in Culver City. And we're just sort of excited to share the idea for communities that are interested.
Thank you for making time. I'm sorry. Yeah, we've got to move on to board business. Thank you for making time today. I can direct people with questions to you and your organization, or people that are interested in getting involved. We'll follow up to connect the dots, both from the people that attended this meeting, but also generally to Ocean Park Association mailing list as well.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Cool. With that, we can move on to board business. Sorry, just pulling up the agenda on here since most of my devices are taken up for AV stuff. Kicking off with executive committee. Patty, I know you're here virtually, and Chris is also virtual. Christina and Robbie are here in person. We had a couple things we want to bring up for discussion. One is policies and procedures for non-members requesting speaking time at meetings. We've been very fortunate lately that a lot of people have been wanting to address the OPA community, and I don't think there are any. And if Patty, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any technical rules or process for that.
No, there is none. None have been created.
Yeah, and in particular, I want to ask people that have been, around much longer than me to see if there's anything that we should be revisiting around that, or if there's any sort of process that we should be thinking about. Please.
Strong, great question, and I appreciate. First of all, it's a wonderful problem to have that we have people wanting to come and speak to us in person, which is nice after COVID and everything. I think it's just. It's really up to you and the executive committee. It's a question of time on the agenda. It's really that simple. And what's relevant, right? And you've been doing a good job of slotting this as best you can. And I don't know if you have to be a member to address, to address us. It'd be great if you are, but maybe that's the way getting people to join too. So I just think keep it. You're doing a great job of kind of air traffic control.
And Sean, back on that. Almost everyone who addresses us is not a member, and it's always been that way. So
I'm aware of that. I'm more asking about getting getting placed on the agenda, and if they need to be sponsored or brought up by a member in some way, shape, or form. I'm just putting it out there because we've gotten there's been and just sharing how this has come up. There's some tension lately around who is speaking on all matters civic auditorium and when and how and why, and just want to be respectful of voices, but also respectful of people's time that are on the board and joining meetings. John, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I support the idea of the executive making a decision. And, just remember that we try to be relatively neutral on the more controversial items, right? So we should, we had someone supporting the civic, and if we find someone to come speak that wants to see something different on that space, right? And just so we can educate ourselves.
I agree. Sounds good. So I don't think there's any action we can take. By the way, speaking of the civic, next month's agenda is going to be a little more civic heavy. We're going to have multiple speakers joining and probably dedicating 30 or 45 minutes to that conversation with both the Save the Civic group that's being spearheaded by Lori Nasham and Pete Lala, and as well as the school board wants to come talk about their goals for it as well.
You should get somebody to speak about the political context of what's going on, because it is a really interesting dynamic that's taking place. It's a little different than we see, and I think people need to understand, what people are doing today, what their end game is, and all that stuff.
I would love that, and if you could help find someone, that would be amazing. So,
John.
I'll be glad to.
Oh, you got John.
2 minutes. So we can follow up on that. We don't need to take time today, but just sort of teaser for next month. Relatedly, I'm concerned, but it's a good concern that we may be busting at the seams next month, because I have a feeling there's going to be some pretty passionate people that want to get in on this. Any thoughts on how to deal with that, and as opposed to just packing in here like sardines because the library is not a viable space yet?
It's still not, right?
No. My assumption is we're just going to roll the dice and see what happens. But if anyone has any other ideas or locations we should be thinking about, please come talk to me.
Is there something on the pier we can use? Is there a community room on the pier? That's close enough to the neighborhood.
I can ask you.
Well, I know, Mark, but
You know,
What about your house, dude? Mark, we're actually going to annex the pier.
Yeah.
And they know.
That's street scene.
we don't know, I don't know where there's a space like that.
Yeah.
The church in Ocean Park is gonna open,
Yeah.
be
third week
open,
of October.
but from
Yeah.
November on, I
Right.
think we'll
It'll
be
be-
able
it'll be
to,
So if anyone has any ideas, come chat with me to get them.
I'll tell you.
Okay, awesome. So we may end up just, being cozy next month. We'll see. Excuse me. Sorry, bad joke. Last thing from sort of executive committee is we've been thinking about our logo and if it should be going under a refresh. At a minimum, we need a high-res version of it. No one can seem to find the high-res version of the current one. And so I've emailed some board members some versions of it that I'll pull up and share. Also try to share it online. And I don't think we're going to end up voting on anything tonight, but want to chat about it and see what people think and if we should be making any changes or not, and where what direction we should be going in. As most of you probably know, we put out in the newsletter a call for any residents who have some artistic capabilities to pitch in on it, and we got some really interesting suggestions. And so just here's one with OPA along with the website and Sky. Here's a different one. I'm not going to make any comments on any of them. I'll just go through them. I'm sorry. I can try to make that bigger. It was demoed earlier, but better. And then this is the same as the first one, just 3 different images inside of them. And so sort of first question from the floor is thoughts on sort of a logo refresh or update or change. And then we can have a substantive conversation about what direction to go with it. Yes, sir.
I'd like you to take up, if you would, subject matter of bicycle parking at the Ocean Park library.
Okay.
There is
a off topic, but okay.
So they took it out a while back, and so they want people to ride their bikes.
They
get up the parking spot.
So on the logo, I think it should have Santa Monica in there somewhere after working the booth, right on Main Street. I think it'd be easier for people to go, oh, Santa Monica's Ocean Park, there's ways to find it, not just me.
Also, Patty's gonna say it's actually Santa Monica, so nobody.
Right, there's an Ocean Park Association in Maine.
And there was some.
There's an
back when I
Ocean Park
visited.
Association in Massachusetts. And they
Huge deal.
sometimes try to get into our park because we're a lot cheaper than they are.
I raised this back in the day when I was earlier on the board. There was talk about the need to keep a lifeguard stand and all that. Is that still in the mix, Patty? I know that was something you felt. I like what we see here personally.
And by the way, Nick, who's not here tonight.
Were you addressing me? Was someone
No,
addressing me?
it's
The
to
lifeguard was going to go into letterhead because it's more scenic. The logo itself would be something that I think we would need to use in black and white as well in color, and that's why I don't think these pictures would come out really well in black and white. But we do keep the lifeguard station for letterhead, that type of thing. I know Jeff uses it all the time.
And whatever logo gets created, there could be a black and white version and a color version of it. That's not difficult.
Yeah.
Nick, who's not here because he's in London, said he feels pretty strongly that the lifeguard tower should be incorporated in some way, shape, or form because of just how iconic and part of Ocean Park that is. So that was good feedback from him in absentia. Anybody else have any comments or feedback or thoughts?
I think the third one is not even considerable.
This one?
That.
That one, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I wouldn't even.
Yeah, thank you.
I like along John's line of thinking. I'm wondering if we should put like neighborhood organization or kind of what we do in there, or maybe there's just one that's the letters or something, and then there's one that says neighborhood organization Santa Monica. But along the lines of people wondering what is OPA.
Yeah, and there's a current masthead that says your neighborhood, your rights.
There's that concept.
And that's
There's a logo
that can probably get incorporated in some way, shape, or form as well. Yeah. Mark, you had your hand up.
I just say it seems very benign topic, but about 8 years ago, we went into looking at rebranding, and it kind of blew up. I mean, several board members resigned, and it was quite a overload.
Okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Well, there's still time for that. Don't worry. All right. Thank you, everyone, for feedback. I think the executive committee will take that back and discuss it, and we'll follow up next month. There's nothing pressing that needs to be decided on today. So moving on, unless anyone else on the executive committee have anything to bring up. Cool. Moving into communications. Super excited to report that the newsletter.
It's September. We have to start thinking about getting people in line for our elections. Thinking about it in the beginning of October is a little bit late because November is the end of the line. So I just wanted to bring up, we need to start thinking about possible board members during this period of time and be ready in October to put some names out. Just want to bring it up.
Sounds good. We should. Nope. Thank you for flagging that. And we should probably also mention it in a newsletter in the coming week or two. And just for the types of people that are coming to this meeting are you're the perfect type of people to be on the board. We're looking for people that care about the community and want to be engaged, and it doesn't require a huge time commitment unless you're a true masochist like myself. A lot of people are passionate about certain issues and tend to run more with those particular components. So please come talk to me, or I may be reaching out to many of you that have attended meetings over the past few months about possibly getting a little bit more involved next year. So thanks for flagging that, Patty. As we shift into communications, super excited to report that after this weekend's event, our newsletter subscriber number crossed the 2,000 mark.
Yay.
So, it's funny. I think many of you know I also write a little bit for the San Juan Daily Press, and it's kind of funny when I compare numbers of like open rate from the open newsletter versus the more well-known Santa Monica Daily Press. I can't divulge anything other than to say we compare very favorably. So,
I didn't think y'all could take more than 2,000 names.
We upgraded the account to support that. Anybody have anything on communications? I don't think so. Rob, anybody else? Cool.
Could I add one thing?
You may.
I think you deserve a lot of credit for Ben, Mark, being myself. You've done such a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Let's talk about Main Street a little bit. I'm going to hand the floor over to Robbie to recap this past weekend and talk about what's coming up.
And Hunter's here. So Hunter, is there anything that you want to lead with? Okay, if anybody hasn't met Hunter, he's the head of the Main Street Business Improvement Association and our partner for the Open Main Street events. And he has someone on his team, Jenny, who put a ton of work into, kind of making sure that the weekend was a success. Thank you to everyone that showed up and volunteered at the OPA booth. It sounds like the newsletter, email collection was successful. And I know a lot of people said they were having a blast. So appreciate everything that everyone did to make the weekend successful. So yeah, if there are things, we'd love to hear them, positive, negative. Maybe probably don't have a ton of time, 5 minutes or something, but
again, you deserve a ton of credit for that. Yeah. But it was like one of the best community events I've seen in Santa Monica in years and years and years, in terms of people showing up and really having fun and being engaged and staying all day. People came from, and what I was interested in, a lot of people came from, I don't know where you put the media, but they came from all over Koreatown and the Valley, and just the word got out. So
yeah, it's clear that dogs were
really good.
It's doing some of those things are coming out to mother or son of Beverly Hills. So we're there for the farmers market. Yeah,
it was well done.
Good job. I know you're making a little adjustments along the way. What's one thing we do different to make it better next time?
No, I think we just this would be like the littlest of the little things, right? But like at the beer garden, I love the library ale house, but like at 5 o'clock the music stopped and then it was like trivia, and so there were a lot of people that were having a great time, and then maybe you think,
yeah,
should we do the trivia earlier? Or,
yeah, so like
do you change that? But really would love to hear more people, things they notice, because I don't know, I think I think a lot of good things. Yeah.
In my office, we have TV on, and I heard it all day. I heard about it all day on KTLA, on Channel 5 News. On Friday, we had it on, and every hour I heard it. So how you got that done up? That was awesome.
Yeah, somebody was in charge of the press. So there's, I can actually go to that.
So I encourage the Merchants Association to do their planning for next year, because the discretionary funds that have been allocated by the city in the first 6 months, half of them have already been allocated. So hopefully they could get in line and say, we want to do this next year for so many shows or so many weekends. And I know that there's also an opportunity for that money to be replenished at the 6-month mark of the budget cycle. So want to make sure that we get our share.
I was curious how much foot traffic actually went into the businesses, because sometimes like the vendors would maybe like cutting off or blocking some of the stores, like depending on where the vendor was. So it's about, dang, like are people seeing these other stores kind of behind the booths and venues and stuff? So I wonder if maybe next year businesses could like push themselves out a bit more of their storefront to be like more involved in the event rather than maybe like corralled by the vendors. But I had a great time. It was just something I was thinking about.
I think it's really good. It's a really good idea.
Yeah,
it's a really good point. One thing that happened that made it a little challenging was Sunday there was a race. There was a 5K, and so the city made the tents be on the far, like, what is that, north side of the street. And I agree with you. Like, I think that some of the booths were like in front of storefronts. And so it is one thing, and Hunter has, I think, starting to circulate a survey here to try to get some ideas and input. But yeah, one thing that we've talked about, we kind of did this like a week before the event, is there more that we should be doing to try to, kind of like try to encourage people to shop? Should Sunday be a sidewalk sale?
Yeah. I think the restaurants think the shops, they're sort of stopped.
The dogs have fun.
Yeah, but it's a good call out. Yeah, go for it.
We have to have a fire lane anytime we do an event. So we're limited in how centered a lot of those booths can be. They can't be in the middle of the street. Fire truck has to be able to come through. So unfortunately, there has to be some losers, I guess, when it comes to frontage being obscured. There's no easy way to be honest with you. Alfalfa, they're very generous. I felt bad that they got short of the stick because the biggest attraction, that wave truck, was kind of blocking the front. But just because it was so big, because the race was happening and we needed a fire lane, really, truly nowhere else to put it. So, we do what we can. But yes, we talk to the merchants and see if they have any suggestions. Historically, the retailers just don't participate, unfortunately. We have twisted ourselves in knots many times over the years trying to get them to come out into the street and sidewalk sales or even just open. And a lot of them just don't like it. The reality is that I've spoken to many of them. It's always an issue of they don't want people in their store, especially from people. They don't want kids in their store with chocolate cans, and they don't have staffing to kind of support the hordes of people, essentially. So if we will extend the offer again next month, will they take it? I don't know.
Well, I know during the Christmas season, we have the Main Street and we have the carolers and, the tree lighting and everything. I know I come out to it and I actually do my shopping that day. I'll go into the store. The stores are very inviting to come in. So is there a way to kind of get that same atmosphere in I don't know, just kind of develop that in a way, you go in and a lot of the stores offer you like champagne or cookies or something, and it's really nice. So I go in there and I shop.
Yeah.
I
would love it if that was easy to do. Christmas is historically, to be honest, consumer holiday. People are shopping.
Yeah.
So it's easier for them to justify it. Again, we've offered many times. We have a permit. We say, hey, come out into the street. We'll give you canopies, whatever. So if anybody has creative ideas, hey, send it. I think it's just hard to I think it's an ideal situation.
Well, hard for the existing.
Correct.
Oh yeah. Okay. But yeah, definitely feel free to send any thoughts that you have, ideas. We are meeting, once a week, Main Street Business Improvement Association and myself and Sean and Judy, over the next couple of weeks. So we'd love to incorporate feedback or thoughts that you have. And then October 21st to 22nd, we'll do something similar. And we can kind of share some more details as we get closer. But again, thanks for all the support from the board, making it an awesome event. So
I do want to point one thing out. It was an extremely safe event. I don't think there were any incidents whatsoever. When I talked to David Wang, he said that there was one kind of sketchy individual that he was concerned about. He filed with it. So I think it's important to know that it was also very safe. So thank you.
No kids got eaten by a robber.
that would have been that.
Good job making all the time you're getting to this. The results should speak for themselves. If anyone's looking to get a little bit more involved in something like this, please reach out to Robbie. If you don't know Robbie's info, reach out to me. I'll connect you because we could use some more help. October, is right. It's going to be here before we realize it. It's going to be a very Halloween focused event. Yes. There will be a dog costume contest again. There will be a movie in the street. And you could use some help with the planning. Moving on, I don't think we have an arts report, although both Chris and Mark are on the Zoom. Speak up if I'm wrong. Diversity. So I think Judy's going to speak to diversity and then an offshoot of diversity at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'll let you address both and I'll tease out the other one.
All right. Ian and I have spoken about this. And so what we're trying to do is figure out what would be all the diverse parts of diversity and how do we incorporate that into what we're doing. And one of the things that's happening is an LGBTQ potluck kind of thing that's happening at my house on Sunday night. So
This Sunday?
This Sunday.
What time?
At 6:30. And if you want to be at that, please talk to me about it. What we're going to do is talk about, well, what can we do as a community in a community that doesn't have a whole lot of gathering places or things to do that are sort of labeled. And there are people who would really like to be spending more time in a group. So what we're trying to do is to create a group and then figure out what to do about that. One of the other things that we're talking about is not so much about diversity, but about the library and what could be happening at the library while it's closed as a library, but what could we do in other parts of the library, like the under, the lower floor. And it's just a fabulous thing that the city manager is very interested in what we might want to do. The library was, Mark knows everything about the history of the library, but one of the things that I do know is that when it was created as a library, it was also to be a community center. And it is the center of our community in a sense of Ocean Park. And so what would we like to see there? And there's going to be a group meeting about that, but if anybody's interested in being part of that, just let me know.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone on diversity matters? I don't think there's anything to report on renters or homeless.
Just that we're gonna get a survey out, it's gonna happen, so I say it'll happen.
I think you've had your hands full. Christina, education. I heard school's back in session.
School's in session. Drive carefully, everybody. And, sports, middle school sports rolled out. Overwhelming amount of kids came out to try out for a very small number of spots, which shows that we need these middle school sports. So hopefully that'll continue to evolve. Yeah.
Cool. And next month, as I already teased up, someone from Santa Monica, Malibu Unified School District is going to be here speaking on the Civic. We've also asked them to spend a couple minutes to talk about all things Mirror Smash as well. So hopefully we'll get an update on that. And there'll also be something in the next newsletter about sort of what some of the immediate next steps are there, because they just sent an email. And I see 2 hands up.
What's the limitation on this? Why is
Right now, this is the first year, and it's supposed to be, they're building the donation sports endowment, so there's literally like enough money to pay just for like a Lincoln flag football team, a Jams flag football team, and the Smash kids can get on them. But they don't have it, but they had like 200 kids come out for flag football. They don't have enough space. Same thing for volleyball and cross country. There's just not enough.
you have enough space, you don't have enough coaches?
There's not enough money to pay for people, if we're always want to participate.
So I was an educator in New York for about 25 years, and today at the Santa Monica Library bookstore, the woman who's in charge was really irate and upset that all the libraries of the middle school were being dismantled. You know, and you're talking about sports and everything, but you know that they're not allowed to have books in the classroom, library books in the classroom, which I found astounding. I know I'm older and maybe kids read online or something, but you know, I just couldn't believe
Library is being rebuilt, but my kid checks out library.
in the classroom libraries. You know, I found that to be very important in my classroom. I know it was a long time ago.
Elementary school.
The junior high,
Elementary, junior high, I don't, you know.
she said all the junior high teachers had to get rid of everything. I just couldn't believe that. I couldn't understand why they would do that. And that, it's almost, I don't like to say DeSantis, but it's almost like that. I mean, you're banning certain books in one place, and here they're taking everything out of the classroom. I mean, if they're not giving the teacher an option.
Well, I know, you know, facilities is rebuilding parts of campuses and stuff, and although they ask for teacher input, they build how they're gonna build, and so we have things like glass walls and whatnot. So it's maybe not built exactly how our teachers union or our teachers would like it to be built, or even our parents. But that is.
Because they're getting big donations in that book, because she doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, because there's no space.
Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway.
I think that's it on task forces and committees. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone? The last item I have on my list is the city is hosting or sponsoring, I'm not sure what to call it, a kickoff meeting for their creation of a Santa Monica equity plan and grant program. And they're looking for community members and organizations to be involved with that. That first meeting is September 23rd. And it would be great if OPA could be involved in some way, shape, or form. I think I forwarded this to everyone on the board. We should be sent, probably. If someone is available to attend, OPA should send someone.
What does that mean?
The idea is to create, I'll forward it to you so you can read it without my butchering it. And Judy could probably speak better than I can, but it's about creating a set of guidelines and best practices around how, when, and to whom to be distributing monies. Judy, do you want to add to that?
The city hired a group to come up with a kind of report to the council, and I happened to be watching the council that day. And it was a really, really interesting report. I wish I knew the date of it because you can go back and watch it. But this is like a follow-up to that. It was a report to the council on equity issues, not only about the city, but wider than that. And then this is to be bringing the community into the discussion about it. And also there is kind of built into that, the ability to, they're going to talk about the ability of groups or individuals, small groups, to apply for some grant money, $500, not a huge amount, but to do something in their communities or on their block or something small.
Will volunteer to attend that on behalf of OPA. The meeting is open to the public with a maximum of 75 people. So if anyone else is interested in attending, please just let me know. I can forward you the invite.
And it is hybrid. You can go to it or
yeah, sorry,
can...
it's limited to 75 in person, but unlimited to. Thank you. That's it for formal agenda. I want to open the floor for the last few minutes if anyone else has anything else to bring up.
You had mentioned for the first time the other day, I know it's more because I walk my dog a lot. The trash is, you know, I come from New York City and I moved away from there to get away from that. That's concerned. You know, especially I live on Pier Avenue and then on 4th Street, and it just keeps accumulating. It's getting worse and worse. I didn't see rodents yet, but Is there anything that could be done?
And
about
for
that?
context, I don't think you're talking about trash
No,
as much
no,
as you're talking about people discarding
Exactly.
large
Yeah.
furniture items on
Yeah.
the street. Seems to be increasing
You
lately.
can have both, you know, that's
So, so maybe one of the speakers we could have is like road compliance, right? Talk about how that works and how it doesn't work, who would call, right? You call 311. I think it's an issue all over the city. And I think that would be good for us because I live over by the beach. And Mark knows it's, picks up a piece of trash at 8 a.m. and 8:05. There's 4 more behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our mayor has brought this up during Open Connects. There is a noticeable, and they're on.
Yes.
They're on. It's something I agree with.
But what do you mean on it? What is that?
Well, they're aware of it. The city is at a senior level.
But they hire somebody.
Yeah, at a minimum, what we should be doing in the newsletter is letting people know who to call.
Yeah. 311, they come pick it up. They come, they go, they do us once a week, every
They're
Thursday.
really good.
So, and August is always a bad month. I don't know why, but August is all the matches all here. Yeah, it really.
Right, for the motorist people moving for school.
We also know when we had that needed cop thing right downtown. I had a chance to talk to the woman that runs the whole trash thing, right?
3
Yeah.
hours, yeah.
Right, and she said that they were in the process of hiring like 4 more people. So I think that will help too, right? That there's more bodies that can respond to 311 quicker.
If you can sure one, then come pick it up.
They-
Give some call.
And I can try to put a plug in the newsletter. I don't do it next one. Nudge me to spread the word. There's an app and a website and everything else. Anything else, open floor that people would like to bring up before we?
Helping out with an event at the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Monica on September 24th at Santa Monica Brew Works. That's one of the details.
Tell us more.
It's at Santa Monica Brew Works. It's like drink tickets, but yeah, it all goes to benefit the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Monica. So I've been volunteering there a bit, run the privileged kids, hang out after school when parents can't take care of them. So you buy like 2 drink tickets and you get 2 beers with that. And the proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club. So
I can get drunk and socially responsible.
Yeah, exactly. So you get September 24th from 2 to 5 at Santa Monica Brew Works. So yeah, drink tickets, 2 drinks, and 1 ticket is $50. So but think of it as like 2 beers for $50. It's all donations. So
cool. I think the Boys and Girls Club are also involved with the opera on the pier that's coming up later this month. I think there's some connection to raise money for that. Familiar, the opera is starting their new season, and for I think the 2nd or 3rd year in a row, they're simulcasting it off the deck of the pier where there used to be the concerts. It should be a fun night.
I'm gonna be there, so if you wanna be in a little group, obviously Jeff will be with me because he's always there. But come and join us because it's fun to sit there with people that you know and watch.
Yeah,
Don Giovanni, and maybe
I may will go with you this time.
How much is it going to cost? It's free.
it's free.
I'll sponsor you.
And you get to sit with me.
All right, unless there's other open items, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Yeah.
Motion second, all in favor? And it is exactly 8:30. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion from Jeff, second from Robbie. All in favor? Thank you to all the new faces and all the regular faces. And see you soon.
Get that.